Okay. Well, hello, pretty lady. Welcome to the show.
Good morning.
Good morning. Are you awake yet?
Yes, or will be very soon.
Oh my gosh. Okay, so you got your coffee. Well,
Yeah.
welcome. I'm so happy you're here. Why don't we just start off by you telling us your story?
Oh God, nobody wants to hear that story. I
Yeah,
tell
they
you
do.
why. Or maybe I'm tired of telling it. Do you ever feel that way? Like,
All the time. I've said this so many freaking times. Like, who wants to
yeah,
hear it again? But we have a lot of
people.
people. They don't
Yeah,
know you.
they don't know me. Why would you know me? Do you know who I am?
Who is Rachel Luna? So,
Yeah. Rachel Luna. Well, I mean, the Cliff Notes version is that I am a certified professional life and business coach. My specialty is in sales confidence and mindset up until this point. We'll talk a little bit later now that I'm on a hiatus, but the way that it began, why people come to me for confidence is because I was incredibly insecure. And so people will come up to me, even growing up, and say, "You're so confident, you're so brave, you're so bold." But I really wasn't. That was just a facade. I was just a very good actress as a little girl. And in fact, that's what I wanted to be. I wanted to be like, J-Lo. She wasn't, she didn't exist yet when I was growing up, right? So I wanted to be like Susan Sarandon and all these people. But then J-Lo came on the scene. I was like, yep, me too, J-Lo right here. Um, but those insecurities really came from the fact that when I was 3 years old, my mom died of AIDS,
wow.
and my father was also sick. And when my mom died, my dad gave me to my godmother to raise me. And just right then and there, that you start to tell stories around things in your life. And up until that point, I remember believing that everyone I love leaves me.
Mm.
And then my father went on to marry someone and raise her daughter. And I remember feeling a lot of resentment because I barely saw him growing up. And we lived in the same state. We lived in New York, and it was just a train ride away. And he would always say, "I don't have any money. I don't have any money." He couldn't see me. But I remember thinking, but you have money to take care of that kid. And so there was a lot of insecurity and lack of self-worth. And I really felt like I'm not good enough, because if I were good enough, you would have done whatever you could. You would have done everything to keep me, but you just gave me away. And it's interesting because we start to tell all these stories in our mind around what a circumstance or a situation means. And so when my father gave me up to my godmother, I made that mean I'm not good enough. My father doesn't love me. But that's not the truth, right? The fact is, my mom died. The fact is, my dad was dying. The fact is, he gave me to someone who could take better care of me. The fact is, he got remarried. The fact is, she had a daughter, and that little girl came with the package. There's nothing in the facts of what happened that ever implicated that my dad didn't love me. And in fact, he told me all the time, "I love you." I knew it was evident that he loved me because my sister was so jealous of how much my dad loved me, right? So I share all that to remind us that there are stories from our childhood that we're carrying with us, and we perceive the situation one way, but that's not really the truth of it. There's so much more. I was talking to a client last night, and her story is, my mom never recognized me. My mom didn't care about me. My mom didn't love me. And as we started going deeper into her story, there were some bad decisions that her mom made. But now that this woman is an adult, she and her mom have a much better relationship. And so the new story that my client was telling herself is that my mom only loved me and recognized me once I got married and had children.
Mm.
As we start digging into the story, that's not the case at all. Her mom always loved her, but her mom was a very young woman who had mental and health issues as well. She loved her, but she made poor decisions. And the reason why their relationship is different now, and her mom is able to express her love, is because now she knows how to express her love because she's older and there are certain things that have happened, right? So you have to be very careful between the fact of what actually happened and the story that you created around what happened.
For sure.
Another good example of this is, let's say you're in a relationship and the guy doesn't call you. Well, he didn't call. That means he's not interested. It doesn't mean that he's not interested. It
For
just
sure.
means he didn't call you.
Yeah.
Or when someone says, well, you said this to me and you made me feel bad. I didn't make you feel bad. I said what I said and you interpreted it. You assigned meaning to it that then caused you to think thoughts that are sad.
Yeah.
So we could go really on and on, but I
For
started
sure.
really recognizing that I was really playing into the victimhood of my story growing up, because as soon as people would, and by the way, everybody knew that I was like, you know, the little orphan and whatever. So people would come up to me like, oh, so sad your mom died, right? Even now, I'm 38 years old. I tell the story and people are like, oh, so sad, right? The immediate response from other people is they pity you. They feel bad for you. And growing up, I leaned into that. I appreciated being the victim because that got me attention. The problem was that no one wants to be around a victim forever.
Mm-hmm.
So many people who live their lives as victims, they do so because they're getting some kind of attention. But then they start to notice that they alienate people and they lose friends and they lose relationships. Why? Because they're still stuck in their victim story. And I realized that my victim story was taking the lead and I was starting to sabotage myself. And one of us in college, she said, you are a self-sabotager. Like you do this all the time. You get great grades and then you go on a bender, because I had a problem with alcohol. She's like, we give you this job as an RA and you do great. And then you blow off meetings and you sabotage. And I just want to know, like, do you want to get fired or what's really going on? And I remember being so pissed at being called out on my own bull. And look how cocky I was. I'm in her office with my feet on her desk.
Mm.
I wasn't confident. I was scared and insecure. And this was the alter ego that I had to put forward to protect myself.
Yeah.
But that was the first glimmer of I probably should make some changes. When my father died, I was already in college. He lasted a long time with AIDS. So he was really a carrier, not some people are like carriers, and then some people just, you touch them and sneeze on them and they die.
Yeah.
So my mom was the latter. But anyway, so my father passed away, and that was for the first couple months, you couldn't even tell that my father had died. I was totally fine. And but then when the grieving process hit, when I actually let myself feel the loss, I went on a bender. I went to Penn State, right? But I was in a sorority, and we had a chapter in Stony Brook in New York. I spent the entire semester at Stony Brook partying, emailing my teachers in Penn State like, sick, could you send me my work? Okay. I barely graduated, but I became an alcoholic. And there was always something inside of me that kept reminding me, like, look, you were put on this planet to do something really big. There was always that little voice telling me, like, you're supposed to be doing better than all the little BS stuff you're doing. Mm-hmm. Get it together. So I saw my guidance counselor, and she was like, look, if you go to AA and if you take these forms to your teachers, every class, she said, you have to go to every single class. You cannot skip class anymore. Your teachers have to sign that you were there. And every Friday you have to come and have a meeting with me, and you have to have an AA counselor sign that you've been going to AA meetings. So I had to do all of that just to graduate. By the way, somewhere in between that, all of that, Michigas, I joined the Marine Corps Reserves.
Oh gosh.
Somewhere in between all that, I joined the Marine Corps. And that was the best thing I could have ever done for myself, but we'll get to that. So I did. I took 22 credits in a summer. 22 credits in a summer semester is?
Insane.
That is, you live at school and you're just eating and breathing books.
Yeah.
And I had to do that to graduate from college with the glowing GPS of 1.9. And it's not, here's the kicker. When I was doing good in school, I had a 3.5. But I was screwing around for so long that, I mean, it's a miracle that they let me out of that place with a degree.
Yeah.
Anyway, I ended up going to work, corporate America. And then our nation went to war, and I got called up to go to Iraq. And I remember sitting, I worked for Toyota corporate headquarters. And I remember sitting in my little cubicle writing my will, because you had to write a will for the deployment and everything like that. And my bosses were fantastic and supportive. And one of my bosses comes in and he's like, how does it feel to be writing your will at 22? And I remember saying, I was like, it feels fine. I feel really proud that I'm going for my country. And I said, let's not forget I'm a woman. So the chances of me getting killed in action are slim to begin with at that time, right? This is 2003, or 2002, 2003. I said, but if I'm on a convoy or if my camp gets hit, I'll know that I was protecting someone else's freedom. And so that feels really good. And it feels like my life will have purpose and meaning, like I died for a cause. So I remember that was my first real taste of what purpose was like, and doing something for that was bigger than you and that had more value and contribution than, being an RA, for example. You know what I mean? Not being an RA can also be a major contribution if you're present in someone else's life. But anyway, so I go to war. That was an amazing experience. I come back and I had failure to reintegrate with society, right? Because in the Marine Corps, everything is very direct. It's not fast paced. A lot of it is hurry up and wait. Hurry up, get it together. Okay, wait, we're not ready to go yet. But it's always about getting things done.
Yeah.
And in the Marine Corps, you don't have to be tactful. You can just say, go do this. And there's no questions asked. People just do, because we understand that there's a mission and it's critical, and we don't have time for second guessing. But in corporate America, people are very sensitive.
Oh, yeah.
And they don't like to be told that they're wrong, and they don't like to be called out. And so I was having trouble with one of my bosses because he was never there, but then he'd come into the office and take credit for my work. And we got into like a pissing match about it. And our big general manager brought me into the office, and he was like, you're too abrasive. You can't talk to people like that. And I said, and then this is when I realized I needed to change my life. I needed to change. I said, do you realize that you have me come in at 5 o'clock in the morning and stay until 11 or midnight one day a month, like the last day of the month, to fill out a spreadsheet to count how many cars were sold? Meanwhile, we got people being killed on the front lines so that you could have the freedom of counting cars. And you're going to sit here and tell me about pleasantries and niceties? Like, what we do here is like, this is how important what we do here is.
Yeah.
And I don't have time to deal with dumbass people trying to go on a bender and yell at me for dumb things. Like, that's just not going to fly. And so we kind of went back and forth. And he's like, well, you have to fall in line. I said, no, I don't. I got to get out of here. So I called my mom and I said, I'm going to quit. Don't quit. You have benefits. And I said, Mom, every day that I stay in this office, I'm dying. That's how I feel. I'm losing my soul. And if you want me to die in this cubicle, I'll stay here. But if you want me to live and actually make a difference, I got to come home. So I went home. Anyway, long story short, I kind of found my way. I went back in the Marine Corps. I became a patient liaison in Stuttgart, Germany. And that was the most rewarding job of my life, because I got to work with patients who were literally pieces of their body had been blown off. And just to look at and these were kids, 17, 18-year-old, mostly men, who, one of my patients, his entire face had burnt off. And another one of my patients didn't have legs. He had broken every other bone in his body. His jaw was wired shut, and yet we still found a way to communicate. And it was just such a beautiful experience. And it really helped me, number one, see the level of empathy and compassion that I had for humanity. And number two, it helped me to see that one of my greatest gifts was encouraging others. I always knew I was a good encourager. People always said that about me, but it was the first time that I could see that my encouragement was making a difference in someone's life. But at the time, I was going through like every kind of bad relationship. My boyfriend at the time turned out to be happily married. It was horrible. It was 3 years. We were together for 3 years on and off. And but then he was married. And so there's that. I was overweight by Marine Corps standards, which was an issue. And I remember I had to make a decision. Do I want to re-enlist or do I want to get out? And I hired a life coach, and she was like, after working with her a little bit, and I was in debt. I was like $40,000 in debt, even though I was making good money. And she said, you have such a great story. You have such a gift. You're so magnetic. You're all these things. You should be a life coach. And I was like, you're crazy. I don't have my life together. No one is going to listen to me. But did you ever see that show Starting Over? You might be too young.
No.
Okay, so there was this show on TV, and they would put women together in a house, and they would bring these life coaches to like life coach them. So that I had heard about life coaches years before, and I thought it was cool, but I was too young. I couldn't be a life coach. And my coach said to me, when you get through everything that you're doing, people are going to want to know how you did it, and then you're going to be able to help them. So let's help you first. And then I think you should consider that. So we did. I lost all the weight. I've never gained it back, like 4 or 5 pound fluctuation, but I didn't do anything drastically different. I changed my mindset around my weight. And that's what made the weight come off. I got out of debt. I started making my bed. Like I just became a whole different person because of the work that I did with my coach. And then I got certified as a coach, and here I am. I've been a certified coach for 10 years now.
Wow.
And I've been in business for 7-ish years. So.
What a story. Holy moly.
I told you. It's like, and that's the short version, right? Like,
oh gosh.
There are things there.
There are other things that happened.
I got married in there. I had 2 kids and all that.
Yeah. And now you're back in America.
I'm back in America. Yeah. Oh, yeah. I lived in like 4 different countries in between that.
So tell us about your business. So what is it exactly that you do?
Well, I'm on hiatus right now, so I do nothing. No, just kidding. So I work with online entrepreneurs. I love working with entrepreneurs who are already on track, who are making 6 figures or on track to make 6 figures. And I love to help them double, triple their revenue, because I feel like there's just something really satisfying about helping people make more money for me, because I know that money provides freedom and it provides opportunity. And when people make more money, they can do more things for other people. So that's always my goal, is to not just help you, but to help you so that we could see the impact that you're going to make, so that there's a ripple effect.
Yes.
If I only help you, then I didn't do my job. But if I help you help someone else, then we just changed the world. Mm-hmm. And I love that. I have a couple of programs. I have my signature course at the moment is the Feel Good Sales Society. And I love this program because it's positioned as a sales course, right? So people buy it and they think, oh, I'm going to learn how to sell. But it's so much deeper than that, because as we go through, I take them through 4 core training sessions, but there's so much mindset work around what they believe about their offer, about what they believe their clients believe about their offer or customers. It's just such a deeper level of work that I think is missing in a lot of online programs. Mm-hmm. And I've been through so many online programs. I've taken a lot, and they've all been great in teaching like the technical pieces. This is how you build a webinar. This is how you create a course. This is how you do a launch. This is how you write a funnel. This is the copywriting. And all of those things are great. But the problem that I see with most entrepreneurs, especially whether they're starting out or whether they've hit a plateau and they can't, break through this ceiling that they've reached, is that the technical and the strategy is, you need that. Mm-hmm. But if you don't have the mindset work to help you take action on the strategy and stop listening to that little voice in your head that's telling you you're not good enough, they're going to judge you. Who do you think you are? Who are you to put your stuff out there? What if your mom sees it, or your brother, your uncle? They're going to judge you. They're going to think you're uppity, all the things. If you don't know how to overcome that, what's going to happen is you might take some action. You might have some success, but then you go into what I call as paralysis. Yep. And the thing about paralysis is that it follows on the heels of success and failure, because there are some people who are afraid to succeed too much. And it goes back to the stories. Remember how I led in the beginning, I told you my story, and my story was this. And because that was my story, then I thought all these other things. One of my clients, she could only be a certain level of success, because if she were more successful than her sibling, then she would be chastised. Because growing up, there was this one time, and it only takes one situation in your life to scar you. Yeah. There was one time where she did something better than her sister, and she bragged about it and celebrated, and her mom punished her and said, "Don't do that. You're making your sister feel bad." Mm-hmm. And that was it.
That one moment. The mental part is huge. And so my business is so much strategy stuff, but I also teach on mindset because I know how important that is. And I remember sending an email to my list about mindset stuff that I was working on. And I had somebody email me back like, "How dare you teach about mindset when you're all about strategy?" And I responded, I was like, "Wait a second, like the strategy doesn't work if you don't have the mindset right. So I have to talk about both. Otherwise I'd be doing you a disservice."
Was she like a mindset coach?
No.
Oh, that's so weird.
Yeah.
I would think like maybe she thought, "How dare you, because your strategy and my mindset, you should have brought me on." Oh yeah. Gosh. But see, that would have been really telling to me that that person is so scared to confront what's going on, because that's what happens when we're in resistance. It's not because we don't want to do the work. It's because we are afraid of what's on the other side. Yeah. When someone gives you a journal prompt, and that's another thing. I have a program called the Faith Activated Journaling Experience. Initially, I called it the experiment, but no, it's not an experiment. It's an experience, and it's amazing. And I love it. It's one of the best things I've ever created. By the way, I got to share this. That program, I started out as a membership. It's not a membership. I don't like membership sites for me personally. I don't like dealing with churn. But it was good to try things out. So the first thing that I want to say to the listeners, it's great to try things out. And it's okay if in the middle of whatever you're trying out, you decide, forget it. This is not how I want it to be. Mm-hmm. Because that's exactly how I started the Faith Activated Journaling Experiment as a membership. And a couple months into it, I didn't like the churn. I didn't like dealing with people like, "Can I cancel? Can I cancel?" No, you can't cancel. Get your butt in there and do those prompts, because this is going to change your life. So midway through, I was like, it's not a membership site anymore. Whoever is on the monthly payment plan, whatever they're on, they're grandfathered. But now if you want to join, it's a flat fee and you're paying for the year. So you have options. You can do whatever you want. But the point is that don't be afraid to change course along the way, because you can do that. Mm-hmm. The other thing that I wanted to mention with the Faith Activated was that it was a crazy idea. And it was one of those ideas that I was like, who's going to pay me for journal prompts? Like, they could Google journal prompts. They could go and buy like a $10 journal at Barnes and Noble, and I'm charging them $200 for these journal prompts. But I just was like, you know what? Let me just try it. And 100 people signed up in the first launch. And it was amazing. And I share that because I want to remind you that there's going to be resistance along any great thing.
Yeah.
Anything that is going to be really great for you, you're going to experience a ton of resistance. But if you can just give yourself the permission to push past that, and a way that you can do this is by asking yourself, what am I afraid of? What am I afraid is going to happen? What judgments am I afraid of? What do I think people are going to say? What do I fear people are going to say about this? How am I going to feel if this totally fails? And if this totally fails, what am I going to make that mean about me? And listen to the words that I'm using. What am I making that mean? Because the tendency is to say, well, what does that mean? No. It means nothing. But what I'm making it mean is that I'm a failure and I'm a loser, I'm a whatever. When I think about now, my approach to failure is, look, if I try something and it doesn't work, the only thing it means is that I tried something and it didn't work. And I have a choice. I can go back and tinker around and try to see if we can make it work, or I can let it go and on to the next thing. But I always have a choice, and it only means what I want it to mean. And that's been really freeing and liberating. I feel like I live in my own little world of freedom.
Yeah.
Because I think in such a different way. And so that's what I do with my clients.
I love it. So if someone is struggling with resistance in terms of sales, what are some of those questions you would tell them to ask themselves?
Yeah. So the first thing is, what do you believe about your own product or service? Like, how do you feel about it? Do you think it's great, or do you think it's okay? So you have to figure out how you think about it. The next thing you have to ask yourself is, what do I think my client thinks about it? What judgments am I afraid that he or she is going to have? Excuse me, the hiccups all of a sudden. So ask those questions. And then the other is money. What do you think your client is going to say about the value? And here's a really good question is, am I charging for my worth, or am I charging for the value of the transformation? I always tell people, do not charge your worth. You're priceless. No one could ever buy you there's no amount of money that someone could give me to own me. Right? So think about that. When someone buys our product or program, they own it, right? They own that bit of content. If they were trying to pay for the value of your worth, which is when we say charge your worth, they couldn't afford it. Otherwise, you'd be selling yourself way cheap. Right? I typically ask this question before I even say any of that. I say, if I wanted to buy you, like, well, how much would you be worth? And it's so funny because people were like, 500,000, 100,000, 50,000. Like, I get these random answers and I'm like, really? So for $50,000, I could go and buy you and bring you home with me and you would do whatever I want? Oh, well, no. I'm like, well, that's what you're saying when you charge your worth. So we really need to focus on the value of the transformation. If they implement what you teach them, how much is that going to be worth to their business, to their life? And I know for me, for example, the work that I do, especially in the Feel Good Sales Society, is priceless for them, really, and to many degrees, because they get so many personal breakthroughs. But I also look at, okay, if they followed my strategy for sales and they doubled their current income every single year, how much would that be worth?
Yeah.
And then I look at the pricing of, okay, well, how much time does it take me to create the content? And what's an hour of, how do I value an hour of my time? So for me, an hour of my time, like one-on-one, is $1,000. Because I know that when we get together for 1 hour, I'm going to break through things that are going to change your whole life. So you're going to show up differently for the rest of your life. That's worth more than $1,000. But I also think in terms of what the market's willing to pay. So there has to be some sort of tactical strategy there, as well as the mindset. But then I look at, okay, well, how much does it cost to run the program? Like, what's the cost of my membership site and my checkout and all of those things? So I put all of that into the price. And then I fall in line with what's the value of the transformation, what are my actual operating expenses that give me the lifestyle that I want, and what's the market willing to pay? I look at that price and then I just ask, does that sit well with me? And could I present this to my client and feel like they're getting a deal? If you can look at the cost of your program product and feel that, man, this is really amazing, they're getting it at a deal, but still I'm getting what I want out of it financially, then you're going to be able to sell it, because here's what's happening. They are getting a great deal and you're still getting what you want, and you can still satisfy your dreams and your lifestyle. Where you find disconnect is when you underprice things and you feel resentment coming into the sales call because you know it's worth more, but you're afraid they won't pay more. Mm-hmm. So now you're delivering something that you wish you had charged more for, and they're not getting the value because you're not showing up in the right energy and headspace. So there are a lot of psychological things that happen in the sales conversation that you have to get right with. So I hope I answered that clearly. Do we tell them how early it is?
It is pretty early.
Okay. And I didn't sleep well last night. So I'm like, I hope I deliver for these people. But even just what I just did right now, right? That's something that really happens to a lot of us. Like, oh my gosh, I hope I deliver. I hope I'm doing a good job. I hope that I hope that I'm changing someone's life today. And the bottom line is that there are some days where there are some days, you're just on fire, you were on it. And then there are other days where you don't know, but you show up anyway with the right intention, right? Yeah. If you have the right intention to serve and to deliver value, then there's going to be someone who got it.
Yeah.
And so I know that there's at least one listener today that's like, oh, I got this. This is great. Now I can see. And there will always be people who are like, I can never get my time back from that. Like, I'll never get that hour back. And that's okay. You don't have to worry about those people.
Worry about the one that you serve.
An audience of one is still an audience, because remember, what did I say? My job, as I see it, is not just to change your life and just impact you. I've only done my job when I do or say something that inspires you to take action that then allows you to help someone else. Because an audience of one is never really an audience of one if you do your job right.
Yep. Ooh, I love that. Okay, talk to us about your hiatus. What is going on?
Oh, hiatus. Yeah. Have you ever been in your business and just felt like, I have to record a podcast. I have to send out an email. I have to do an Instagram story. So I was having too many of those days. There were too many days when I felt like I had to do things in my business, and I don't like to operate from that, because if I'm operating from a place of I have to, then I'm not serving you. I'm not thinking about you. I'm thinking about me and how I can stay relevant. Mm-hmm. And that was a big wake-up call for me in terms of walking my talk, right? It's really easy for me as the coach. Coaching, by the way, can sometimes be the easiest job on the planet, because you just get to tell people what to do. Now, where it becomes hard is when you tell your client what to do and they don't do it. But here's the thing, that's not coaching, right? Coaching is not telling people what to do. That's consulting. If you're a really effective coach, you're actually asking your clients questions that are allowing them to think on a different level and to change their identity, their self-talk, their beliefs, and their behaviors, that then allows them to become a transformed person to go out and do more things. So it's hard to coach when you're asking people the questions and they don't want to look for the answer. Yeah, so that can be challenging. But anyway, so I just found that I was feeling obligated, and I don't want to ever create anything out of obligation. So I decided, screw it. I'm going to take a time off, and I'm not going to post because I have to, because some algorithm says I have to. I'm not going to send emails because it's what I have to do. I'm only going to do what feels right every single day, and I'm going to test it out and see how that works out for me. The other thing is that I felt very strong. I'm a Christian, and I felt God trying to call me in a different direction. And I was just like, I don't know. I don't think I'm hearing you correctly, which is funny, because sometimes we get an idea, we get something, but it feels so crazy that you're just like, that surely could not be it, right? So for me, the conversation with God was like, surely you cannot be telling me to stop operating a successful 6-figure business.
Yeah.
That cannot be what you're telling me to do, God.
Yeah.
Because it's very easy to quit something when it's not working. But it's very hard to leave something that's doing good, and especially when it has momentum and you finally have funnels up and you know how to do Facebook ads. And it's just, it doesn't make any sense. However, I'm always in pursuit of the things that make no sense. Because I think that when you pursue the things that make no sense, like there's breakthrough there. That's where the people are not, right? When you're doing what makes sense and what all the experts are telling you to do and all the things, well, everybody's over there doing that. And I'm interested in what people are not doing over here, and to play around in this playground and see where can I disrupt things over here. So my hiatus is for an undisclosed amount of time. I mean, I'm still making money, right? Because there's no way I could take, I guess there would be a way. Let me reframe that. There's totally a way. Anybody could actually go on a hiatus and still find ways to make money if they know how to live within their means, if they knew how to set themselves up. And that's important to know, is that I didn't just wake up one day and say, I'm going on hiatus. I knew I wanted to do this and I set myself up. So leading up to the hiatus, I worked, and I had it in my mind that after this launch, I'm done. I'm not answering email if I don't have to. I'm not doing anything. Even if I have to, I'm not, if I don't want to. So that's important, right? Don't just go jump off and say, I'm going to do something crazy today. Set yourself up for the ability to take crazy, spontaneous action. So I set myself up financially to be able to just, the next 6 months are paid for already. And that's cool. And I'm also generating new income over the next 6 months, which is amazing too. But here's the thing. The minute that I said, I'm just going to do what feels right, and I'm not going to worry about getting it wrong, my income started to not double, but almost, actually, a little time and a half, like 1.5 times each month from the moment I decided this is what I'm going to do. And nothing has really changed in terms of me hustling. I'm not hustling harder. I'm just in alignment. So I share that with you, to find your place of alignment. Set yourself up, put your ducks in a row, understand that this is what you want to do, right? Like you and I were just talking about a summer in France. And it's like, cool, I want to do that next summer. I know exactly what I need to do this year to set myself up to do that next year.
Yeah.
And then just continue to stay in alignment, and don't worry about changing your mind. Sometimes we feel like we have to put a time frame. People keep asking me, so how long is this going to be? I don't know. It might be a week. It might be a year. I don't know. So what does the next step look like? I don't know. I'm not at the next step. I'm on this step.
Yeah.
And there's such a rush to get to the next thing. And I just feel like if you just took the time to be here and really enjoy what here looks like and what here feels like, you would have so much more fulfillment. That's actually something I talk about in the book that I'm working on, Girl Confident. It's that we seem to deceive ourselves in thinking that it's about the destination. When I get here, when I have a 6-figure business, when I have a 7-figure business, I could promise you right now, nothing is going to change that drastically, except you might have a little more expendable income. But if you don't feel good about your environment, if you don't feel good about your relationships, if you don't have good connection, if you don't feel good about your identity, the money is not going to do it. The money is just going to amplify the things that are not working in your life. And I can tell you that with authority, because I remember when I was making $3.75 an hour as a coach, nothing. And now having when I made my first 6 figures, first of all, I didn't even realize I had made 6 figures. So that tells you right there that the money doesn't do anything. But now what I've realized is that the money continues to grow exponentially when I'm just having just such a great time in the doing the things that lead to the money. So if we're talking about launching, right? And I know like your audience members, a lot of them are in your Pinterest program, right? And so they're looking for these great results and show me the numbers and show me the traffic. And they're thinking that when the traffic and the numbers come from Pinterest, I'm going to be so happy. Don't worry about that. Think about how much fun doing the pinning is. Think about how much fun it is to create the content. If you focus on having fun creating the content, then when you get the numbers, it's just like, oh my gosh, that was so much fun and it worked.
Yeah, the cherry on top.
Yeah. So that's like for me, that I love showing people that how can you have fun in the things that you're doing today? How can you make reading email fun again? So this is the last thing I'll say because I know I'm super rambly today and I apologize.
It's early, but no, you're not rambly. You have so much value to add.
Oh, okay, good. I'm like, it feels rambly. It feels very, very rambly. Anyway, so I don't really love email, right? Reading email is like not my favorite thing. How do I make it fun? I watch Netflix while I'm answering email. And I just feel like I'm in my happy little cloud and I'm productive. So I could literally spend 4 hours watching Netflix under the guise of I'm working and I don't feel guilty and things get done, right? So you got to find ways to make the little things that are not glamorous in your day-to-day life, like cleaning. I hate cleaning. But what do? I turn on the music and my kids and I have a dance party.
I do the same thing.
And we just make it as fun as we can because what I do like is I love walking into a clean house.
Yeah.
I love that feeling. I love that end result. But it feels so much better getting to the end result. I can appreciate a clean house more when I had fun cleaning it.
Totally.
Actually, I lie. I can appreciate a clean house the most when I outsource and the housekeeper comes in and does it for me.
Yes. Oh my gosh. No, that's like dead on. Because when I was in network marketing, my least favorite thing was inviting, but you had to do that every freaking day.
Yes.
But I would just put on Friends and I'd be watching Friends reruns as I was doing it. And it would make it like, okay, this isn't so bad if I can do something that I like.
Because you're detached.
Exactly.
You're emotionally detached and you're not overthinking of, oh my gosh, they're going to think this, they're going to think that. No, totally. I'm not even paying attention. I'm just getting this out there.
I'm just doing it and I'm watching Friends.
Yep. Yeah.
Okay. Talk to us about the book that you're writing right now.
Oh, the book. I wish I have one over there. Here it is. Hold it up. Well, it's okay. This is another funny thing. I feel like God is playing a lot of jokes with me lately. And he has such a sense of humor, I swear. Because I've been calling this book Girl Confident for years. My Instagram handle is Girl Confident. Like I built this whole thing around Girl Confident. I don't think that's going to be the name of the book, which is messing up my whole table of contents too, because it said confident, like each chapter. Anyway, but the whole premise of the book is that in it, I show you how to get out of your story, get out of your own way. And I take you through 7 steps that help you really learn how to do things, not fearlessly, because fear is always going to be there. But I show you how to do things from a place of true confidence that allows you to actually enjoy what you're doing. So that, remember I talked earlier in the conversation about paralysis, and paralysis follows both success and failure equally. But what I show you in the book is how to prepare yourself so that you actually ultimately you'll get to the point where you don't fall into paralysis. A result happens, good or bad, and you keep going. But in the book, I show you how to shorten the gap. Because right now there are a lot of people that they have a success and then you don't hear from them for months because they have a success hangover. Mm-hmm. And then likewise, you have people who have a setback and it's the end of the world, and it's like months before they resurface, and then they have to restart. And so people are constantly starting over because they don't know how to handle that gap. So in the book, I show you, I take you through a process, 7 steps of identity. And by the way, it's not a linear 7 steps. And that's one thing I really want to stress to people. We keep looking for things to be linear. And it's like, well, what's step 1 and step 2 and step 3? It's not that way. Life is not linear. There are 7 steps, and you can pick where you are in your journey in life to work through the process. You might need to start at step 1 and then jump to step 6. You might need to start at step 1 and then go to 2 and then 3 and then 7, right? And in the book, I show you how you can do that. Like, how do I make this my own? Because a lot of people think, if you just tell me what to do, I'll do it. Give me the blueprint and I'll do it. But that's not true at all, because that's why you have so many people who join programs but never finish them. Why? Because we don't actually want to be told what to do. We want to know how to do something, and then we want to have the freedom and flexibility to figure it out on our own, because the ego needs to feel like it accomplished something. Yep. And so you have to understand how your ego works. This is why people have a hard time niching down. But I want to help everyone. You are helping everyone when you niche down and you recognize what your zone of genius is, and then you refer your people, or you become an affiliate for other areas that are complementary to what you're doing. But I feel so bad that I can't help them. You don't feel bad. Your ego feels bad that it couldn't be the shining star.
Yep.
So we talk a lot about all those things in the book. It's a great book.
I'm excited.
It's a great book. And it's the first time I wrote another book called Successful People Are Full of Crap, and that's on Amazon. And that's a good book. But this current book that I'm writing is a great book. This is like a life transforming book, because the principles that I teach are so timeless. And it's something that I didn't just write it in the book. This is like my every single day life. I live everything. I take my clients through this process, and the clients that have had the best results are the clients that were able to not just let me walk them through the process once, but who remember and implement it every single day. And when they get stuck, they remember, okay, wait a second, let me separate the fact from the story. When they get stuck, they think, okay, hold on, let me surrender. Hold on, let me nourish myself with my positive, let me create the triggers in my life so that I can show up as a high performer, so that I can show up as my best.
Ooh, so good. So good. So you've mentioned God quite a few times. You're a Christian. How do you incorporate your faith into your business?
Yeah, I get that question a lot. How do I incorporate my faith into my business? I don't have a plan, right? Yeah. Like it's not on my business plan of like, how do we squeeze God in here today?
Totally.
Like, no, he's always with me, right? The Holy Spirit lives in me. And so I just show up as who I am. If I happen to mention God, I happen to mention God. Just like there are as equally as many people who just so happen to mention the universe. And I don't knock you, but whenever people tell me, well, God and the universe, they're the same, that's where I really step up and I say, hold on now. That's your belief, but that's not my belief, because my God created your universe. And let's just make that line in the sand. Well, they're all the same God, universe, source. No. You have to understand that now we're getting into this. So let me just preface this by saying, I'm not trying to convert anyone to anything. Right now, what we're going to have is just a conversation around beliefs. And I'm going to share my belief system. Just because my belief is different than your belief, that doesn't mean that we can't be friends. That doesn't mean that I can't love you and respect you and accept you, and vice versa. You can love and accept me and respect my opinion, and we can still have an amazing relationship. And I like to tell people that and remind them that, because what I see happen is that the minute someone disagrees with our belief system, we want to cut them off. Mm-hmm. And Christians do this a lot. And I feel like Christians, if you're a Christian woman or man or child listening right now, I want you to lean in. Because as Christians, that is not what we are called to do. We're not called to cut people off because they don't believe what we believe. We're called to love them even more. We're called to love them the same. We're called to still share our beliefs and have good dialogue. Who did Jesus hang out with? The sinners, the hoes, the drunks, the thieves, the killers. Imagine if Jesus had said to the disciple, right? One was a tax collector. One was a big persecutor of Christians. Imagine if he had said, nah, get away from me, homeboy. I don't want to get caught up in all the things you're doing because you're a killer, you're a thief. But that's what we as Christians do. Oh, you listen to that kind of music? Oh, you do drugs? Oh, I can't be around you. listen, if you do drugs, awesome. Tell me about your high. If you are out there, caught up in stuff, let me know. I'll pray for you. I'm going to love you and accept you. So let's just put that out there. Now, when I hear someone say to me, God, universe, source, it's all the same, I kind of chuckle to myself and I say, well, that's what you believe. I don't believe that. God is the creator of the universe. The universe is just matter. It's just the entity. It's just what we live in. And you have to be careful, right? According to my beliefs, you have to be very careful about not letting everyone sort of assume the same role, because there are, especially when people talk about angels. Now we're getting into some deep stuff here. When people say, oh, my angels. Well, which angel are you talking to? Because when Satan fell from heaven, he took a third of the angels with him. And a third of the angels that are running around the world talking to you are not good angels. And they come disguised as angels of light, because Satan was an angel of light. He was the most beautiful angel. So he looks good and appealing and he makes you feel good. That's his gift. But you have to recognize that when you are reading oracle cards, when you're doing all those things, you got your stones and your sage, all of that is designed to take you away from God. And the tricky thing is that it's not there to get you, it's not there to hurt you per se, right? None of those things actually hurt you in the immediate, but in the long term, they do hurt you because they take you away from the presence of God. So if you want an oracle reading, oh darn, my Bible's a little out of reach, but I can see it's right there, right? If you want an oracle reading, open up your Bible. Get you a word of the day. It's right there, right? But what do we want to do? No, we want to look to the things that man has made, because we're looking for validation from something that's tangible, that we can see and feel. But here's the thing. I believe that if you have a deep relationship with God, then you can actually start to feel a tangible result. You can actually have conversations with God and actually hear those messages. So when you ask me, how do I incorporate that in my business? Just like this, just like we did. Someone will inevitably ask me, and I will just say, this is what I believe. This is what I subscribe to. I can't tell you with a hands, I can't tell you that I'm right and you're wrong, because none of us actually know. I believe I'm right, just like someone who believes something else believes they're right. And that's okay. And I love to have those kind of conversations with other people, to hear their belief and to be open to it, but to always stay grounded and rooted in what I believe in. Because one thing is very important, whether you're a Christian or a Hindu or an atheist or whatever, you have to stand for something and you have to root yourself in your belief. Otherwise, you will be double-minded. And a double-minded person is a fool. And you know where I got that from? The Bible. Bam.
Oh my gosh. I love how authentic you are and just you and your story and your message. So,
I'm sorry. Could I just also say this?
Yes.
I also curse. I also have a temper, right? Because I'm a Christian who curses, who has a temper, who's a sinner. And I'm a Christian who knows she needs God to be some sort of a good person on this earth.
Yep.
But I like to say that because, people think, oh, you believe in God. You think you better than me. You holier than that. No, totally jacked up over here.
Oh my God, you're the best. So I normally ask what's next for you, but you don't even know, do you?
Yeah, well, that's the thing. Like I do, I know what's next for today. I know what's next for this week. I know it's not what's next, but I know what's now.
Yeah.
And what's now is we just had a launch of the Feel Good Sales Society, and I have 40 amazing new members, and that's enough because I do a lot of coaching, and those coaching calls can last hours. So we've got a new class of Feel Good Sales Society, finishing my book. It's summertime, so I'm spending time with my babies and
planning your summer in France.
Planning my summer in France in 2019. Yep. Definitely coming to visit. And really what's next is getting closer to how I wish to be in this world. and what I want to talk about next, and what impact I want to leave next. And I'm in the process of finding that out. And it's really scary. I could tell you that I'll just share this one thing, because I have this program that I'm going to say it. Oh my gosh, so scary. Okay. So there's this program that I want to create called, well, I've already started creating, called More Word, Less Woo. And it's all about like manifesting as a Christian, and helping you see that it's really geared for Christians who are on the fence, mm-hmm. and who have been really enamored by crystals and sage and the universe has your back, but who really want to take those things, but do it the way that God has instructed us to do. Mm-hmm. And the Bible is like the greatest manifesting teacher. Like if you read it and looked through, it tells you exactly how to manifest the life that you desire in very clear, plain English. But the Bible's kind of hard to read, and it's not straightforward. And it's actually a snooze fest. If you're not excited about it, it makes you fall asleep. I fall asleep reading it all the time. Unless I'm guided in a way. But anyway, so I want to do a program that way, but that's really scary because, number one, I'm not known for that. And number two, I have so many people in my community that I love that are into mysticism and New Age practices. And I don't want to offend them in any way. And I don't want them to feel like I'm saying what they're doing is wrong. I just want to speak to the people that I know want that, but feel out of alignment. Mm-hmm. And so that's like super, super scary to navigate through those things and to say like, where's gonna be my line in the sand, and how do I draw this? So that's what's next.
That's exciting. I know. That is super exciting. Awesome. Well, where can we connect with you?
Oh yeah. We'll definitely get the first chapter of my book, Girl Confident. Go to girlconfident.com. And I promise there's nothing about God or Christianity in it. For those of you that are like, forget it, she's lost me. It's very centralized. It's a great first chapter. You can get it for free, girlconfident.com, or you can visit me at rachelluna.biz.
Awesome. And check out your podcast.
Oh, my podcast. Yeah. Real Talk with Rachel Luna. I forgot about that.
Don't forget about the podcast. It's a good podcast.
Don't forget. It's a good one.
It's a really good one. Cool.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah. Thanks for just chatting with us and sharing all of your wisdom and everything. So thank you.
Thanks. Bye.
Bye.